we're just definitely on the DIY. And like I said, we actually started like with for episode 4 that I just hacked together. It started nicely, and then of course about 14 minutes in, it then cut out and everything with the audio. So, but then like I said, I did like a temporarily having technical difficulties. Please wait, stand by. The color screen, and then we just jump right back. We just jump right over into the second part. So,
did you get
we're good because the audio was just it was spot on. That's the only thing is the video part.
Right.
So, but at this point, let's just keep marching on. So, did you hear the news? Last week we lost
George
Perez.
Wait, who did we lose?
We lost Neil Adams last week. We talked about it.
Yeah, we spoke about Neil, but this year was George Perez.
Yeah. And he was bad. He had a heart condition, so but he was a trooper, man.
Well, I think it should be noted that comic book artists do not eat well.
That's only one thing.
They do not get exercise.
Yeah.
They do not eat well.
Poor posture.
Yeah, and right. Sitting and drawing.
Yeah.
George Perez. So they're touting him as a DC guy first. But he did plenty of work for Marvel, and he did some of Marvel's most iconic Avengers arcs, right, including the Ultron stuff. That was way back when. He was not my favorite artist, but he was a very kind of like neat. He was very professional, very stylized, instantly recognizable style. And and they gave him big titles. They gave him some of the best titles. I think, didn't he do Fantastic Four too?
Yeah, my biggest thing in collecting him was Teen Titans, the new Teen Titans with Marv Wolfman. So that, as a kid, that was one of my go-to grabs, with Uncanny X-Men. And his art was it was just like Neil Adams. Like you knew where the watermark stood. You knew where you had to get to in order to have anybody in Marvel or DC consider you.
See, I put Neil Adams a cut above Perez.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think the collectors would too. Neil Adams was a real different kind of a game changer, and Perez was just kind of like, a solid pro, I think. As far as the uniqueness of interior pages and storytelling, and like I said last time, the angles, the foreshortening and the very unique bird's eye, worm's eye angles that Neil Adams did changed everything. And Perez, he's more of like a straight view kind of guy, right? Like really just kind of here, like, just like just Neil Adams always had these very, very unique angles. He would put things in different perspectives, and plus it was just all super realistic. And George Perez is, he's cartoony. He's not like unrealistic, but just kind of like superhero-ish, I should say. Where Neil Adams, I think, transcended that.
Oh, I would agree with you. I have to say, though, I copied more George Perez stuff from New Teen Titans than anybody else. And I think what it was, and I did not have the self-awareness as a teenager, but his anatomical cartooniness. It's like
For Perez, yeah,
yeah, Perez, yeah.
yeah, he had very, very barrel-chested guys.
Yeah, but you had it was easier to copy him than it was and feel good about it. That's my point. When you're
Yeah,
copying him as a young guy,
Neil Adams was
you
impossible to copy. It's true.
exactly, exactly impossible. Because anytime you started something, it was like three breaths in, and you were going, "Oh, this sucks. I can't." And then you just felt bad. But then having like Deathstroke was my guy from um, New Teen Titans, and I just always felt like I could nail him.
Uh-huh.
I built confidence, by draw, and even Starfire. She was, I think, that kind of like first female I ended up
Mhm.
mastering, as a drawing a female form, which I obviously was having
So
mucho.
so this sounds like your early days.
Oh, this is 12, 13 years old.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
little Kurt.
little Kurt.
Yeah,
Um,
okay. Yeah, no, yeah, at that age, I don't even know if I knew, Perez's name. But I'm sure I was reading his comics. To me the all-stars were John Byrne, Gil Kane,
mhm.
and I believe it or not, I was really down on Kirby for a long time because when he got into his fast style,
Yeah.
for like Devil Dinosaur and stuff like that, I was like, man, what happened to him? Like the mighty have fallen. But I didn't realize until later he was so far ahead of his time. He was cranking these books out, and he was like, he was like abbreviating his style. He really was, you know. But that comes with the territory. Like, he was realizing that, hey, these companies are making more money off me, than I'm making, for myself, and I'm not going to give them my best. Like, I think the best Kirby ever was probably like in the late 60s Fantastic Four. He put so much into it. There was so much like detail and mechanical stuff. And, you know, instead of just giving it the once over, he would give it like the twice over. Sometimes I do that too myself. Like, I'll take a page and I'll just do it on a regular piece of paper, and then I'll use the light box and I'll lay over
Yes.
the final one over. So you're doing it, twice as good. And
Yes.
that's how I did. That's how I did the first, you know, edition of Turbo Pit Fighter, which you have there. Um, but now it's 20 years later, so I'm a lot more comfortable just going through this in the first shot. But it's something I tell my students all the time. Like, you want a secret? Do you want a secret to getting twice as good? Get yourself a light box
Draw it
and
twice.
draw it twice.
Twice is good. Draw it twice.
And that goes for any art. That goes for a painting. Like a lot, when I show kids the first draft of the Mona Lisa, nobody even knows it existed.
Mhm.
It was done 9 years before.
You talking about the scan of it?
No, no, Da Vinci. There's a second Mona Lisa that people don't know about, and it's only worth like a couple of $1 million. But it's 9 years before, and the model is younger, and he did the whole thing, and it's a whole story to it. And I show this to kids in my little spiel about first drafts.
Yeah.
First drafts versus second drafts. So same goes for what we're doing, and anybody else. But yeah, Kirby kind of got his fast style later, and I came to love it. But at first I was like, this isn't the really good Kirby. Like, it's not as realistic. It's really just stylized. And then, like, I realized, wow, that stylized version is much better than the realistic version, because anybody can draw realistic, you know.
Well, I think one of the cooler parts that I'm growing into, because I came out of art school and was really all about life drawing and anatomy, which I still am. But
Huh?
speaking to what you're saying about Kirby, and especially that Devil Dinosaur era where he was doing these one shots and just trying to find things to stick because he was helping the publishers move along, um, is the art of cartooning and just how it's not only evolving, but how much we really depend on the past, our history, and those who had come before us. Because from Hal Foster, um, I was watching some videos last night. There's not that many on YouTube on like Milton Caniff,
Huh? Yeah.
but to be able to work quickly but still have a presence on the page in describing with words and pictures what the hell's going on, and I think that's always going to be in the challenging category.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not just like going back to our heroes over and over. Sometimes it's seeing new stuff
Yes.
and seeing the breadth of different styles and storytelling techniques. I mean, sometimes when I'm just like, when you're just like, oh man, I don't have any gas in the tank right now. You're just dragging your butt and you're like going through the motions. I go to my box of comics, right? I'll show you the box right there that I have right now. I go to comics, I pick one out at random, and I just start leafing through it because I just want that stimulation to see something else, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, and then you look at another one until you see something and like, oh wow, yeah, that I love that panel right there, or I love the way that they're doing the light and darks, like Frank Miller's Sin City. Yeah, I want to do some more of that. There's all these little cues that you take and get inspiration that you bring back to your own artwork. And so I need those breaks, every once in a while to just kind of like because I am a copier, right? I am somebody that really, whenever, like when I saw Star Wars for the first time, I wasn't just like, wow, that was good. I was like, wow, I want to make a movie like that.
Yeah.
I
No.
was I always felt that, like like domino effect thing, where you want to do it something yourself. So that's a big part of it for me. I'm having trouble with my tripod right now, but I think I'll fix that in a second. Yeah, I just want to get like a little bit of a higher view. So this was the sketch that I penned last week. This is just
Oh,
kind of like
nice.
a pin up
Very
for
nice.
the back. And I don't know where else to go on it. I might color it or maybe not. If it's just going to be black and white, I should probably just leave it as is. Do you want me to update you on the story? Are we at that segment yet?
Yeah. 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 No, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the page we finished last time. Um, we have Turbo at the checkpoint. And that page is here. Um, this is gonna be either the first page of episode 2 or the first page of a section where we may or may not make this the opening of the book. But Turbo's coming into the checkpoint. They're dropping the bombs. Big explosion here. We have a little bit of explanation of the backstory of the internal conflict between the regime militant forces. Then we come here, and Turbo is bouncing into a canister, a tin drum, and all these guys are shooting up at the sky, trying to take out the drone that already dropped the bombs, which is futile. And then the next impact, Turbo is rolling away to safety in one of these oil cans, and everybody else is getting blown to smithereens. Um, then Turbo rolls down a hill and is going into the little civilized area behind enemy lines, although it's mostly empty, and comes upon this family medicine pharmacy, whatever. It says all closed for curfew, all stock sold out, no orders available, basically like go away. I have one more window here available if you have an idea for another sign along those lines. And here we have graffiti on the walls that say RM go FY. There's a lot of anti RM graffiti around, and so Turbo's saying, yeah, they're picking me up on the camera. They're gonna let me in, and this is where they're gonna do the exchange. I added some more detail here. Last courier didn't make it here. The one before didn't make it back. Most kids can't tolerate the gamma, and that's because, of course, Turbo is smuggling radioactive peas, but Turbo is a glower, which means just has a natural born resistance to the radioactivity. Or we may decide that the radioactivity actually enhances the glowers. We'll see. We'll probably end up going that way. And so, yeah, I was just finishing this out, like, a kind of a burned out area with rubble all around. But this one store is, in surprisingly good condition considering everything that's going on. And this is like a remaining outpost. Um, so we're going to work on this page next, where we come inside the store, and as we know, they're going to start the exchange, and Turbo is going to get hit on by the teen promiscuous girl. We have a name for her, although we do need. We're still hoping for a name for the headmistress. If you remember, I'm still
Right.
struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girl is going to be named Embra. Embra. That's what I came up with. And I don't know. She'll just be in this one little scene, or maybe she'll come back in another issue later on as an adult. We'll see. But yeah, so I'm just kind of like blocking out this next sequence here, and so here we go back to the notes, the rough notes, and Turbo's going to be inside looking like a boy, and the mother and the father are just kind of going through the transaction, negotiations, and then Ember is going to come in, do her thing, and then we're going to cut to an action scene. And that action scene I started to block out here, as we spoke about. It picks up from where issue 1 leaves off. They're being chased by the hate breeders, and the trophy girl's like, Turbo, snap out of it, wake up, you're in a daze, you're in a flashback. And then we're going to be into some ass kicking action here. We're going to have all the pursuers here on all kinds of weird cars and motorcycles, a la Road Warrior. They're going to release what are they called? Mace chains. And the mace chains are going to be spiky balls on chains that are going to puncture all the tires. And that's going to narrow down the number that are chasing them, so that Turbo can pick them apart one by one and just, hand to hand them. And so that's what I'm blocking out here. So we're doing the roughs in this little book, and then we're doing the actual pages in this section here. And then yeah, just because we have like all these different threads going on at the same time, this is the script that I'm working off. This page here from issue 2 to here, issue 2. So this page and this page is going to be like 30 pages of story, and we're only up to the third page right here. So we still have a lot of details to fill in, like characters, names, sequences. These are all going to be multi-page sequences, and this is really just the synopsis of what happens in the broadest sense. So that's the update. And then if you want to talk about where this is going in the later to come pages, we can talk about that, because when we go back to the flashback sequence, this is where some interesting stuff is happening, and I'm always looking for some input from my partner here. When we go back to the flashback sequence, they're going to, as you already know, they're going to catch the girls kissing and admonish them, and then like slap Ember around. Although we won't show that, or maybe we do, whatever. But it'll be conveyed. Turbo gets sent on her way with the package, and this is a very important package. And then Turbo heads back, retraces her steps. You know, she passes through this area which is all bombed out, all the dead RM, and then she notices a column of soldiers heading right back to the orphanage, which is not good news. Because Turbo and is going to start running and find the orphanage is under attack by a lot of soldiers, and then we're going to meet the headmistress for the first time, and this is only going to be one page, also, I think, because we're just going to come back, for 2 pages into the flashback. It was your advice that I say we should really minimize the flashback, so I only want to have 2 pages here and there, and then we're right back into the current day. But in the flashback, the orphanage will get destroyed. So I'm just filling in the details of how that happens and what happens. So here I have the soldiers are all shooting and firing, and they're all getting hit by snipers, and so it's a real dogfight. And then through binoculars, you see Turbo here. She's signaling, that she has the package, and she's giving the sign that she's identified the commander, so that a sniper can pick off the commander. Also here, notice in the binoculars, it also has the gamma readings, so they can pick up the radiation, from a long distance. And that is a real thing, by the way, that I looked up. That's some actual science in the science fiction. We're going to introduce Dishvan, the slaver, in one panel, and then in the next panel he's dead. So but it's going to show that if they send him, if this is why they're coming to the orphanage, that means they want to get all the kids, and so and the women, and subjugate them. So that's when the headmistress is going to say long guns up to the spire, and then get the kids into the flume before these guys reach the dam. And then it's like, yes, headmistress, yes, headmistress. But we want, number one, we want a better name for headmistress, because I don't like that, and maybe we could do better. Number two, and she is going to be a cool character for a couple of pages. She's going to have like a last stand, and she's going to whip out all these guns and weapons with her garters all showing, and that's going to be cool. But she's, of course, going to convey to Turbo her next instructions, which is to find the person who's a prisoner and get the weapon to the person, because they can put like A and B together and make the weapon like really valuable. And here's, I designed what the spire will look like. The top of the structure of the orphanage will look like this, and it'll have all these kind of facets to it. But then they're all gonna like open up like kind of like a flower blooms, and then there's going to be all these gunners like in these turrets, and they're going to really wipe out a lot of RM, although the RM will eventually overcome them and the orphanage will be destroyed. So that's about as far as I've gotten. The kids are going to be ferried away to safety in something called a flume, which is like little tubes that only kids can fit into. And then they're going to shoot down this like little canal into a boat and go to safety, and they're going to release a dam that's going to like flood everything so that they can be on their way to somewhere else. But that won't involve Turbo. That'll just be like how she helped save the orphanage and all that. And yeah, so need a name for the head mother.
I got one.
Okay, what do you got?
Sister Ray.
Sister Ray.
You know what that refers to?
No.
It's a song.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say there's an MC5 song called Sister Ann.
Yeah.
She's not dead. But who's Sister Ray? Who did the Sister Ray song?
Velvet Underground.
Oh, cool. Okay, maybe we'll use that one instead.
Because I actually have an old one of my oldest stories from back when we were working on that never saw the light of day. I had a similar type of character. I don't know if she had like sexy garter belts or but she was just a really big woman, and she was, well, you know what? It was a team. Oh, now that I remember, it was a team, and so the big powerhouse character was Sister Ray, because she was just a big gal.
Okay.
And, so yeah, but yeah, I'd lend that.
Okay.
to the cause, if that's acceptable
Yeah, sure.
to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, but you gave me the idea of using like song references. Those are kind of like
Yeah,
really Easter eggs because
yeah.
we'll use Sister Ray and Sister Ann. Sister Ann is one of my favorite songs from the MC5, and
Nice.
there's actually a Velvet Underground MC5 connection, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Velvets went to Michigan, I believe Ann Arbor, and played a gig, and the future members of the MC5 attended,
Oh,
according to lore, and the Stooges, of course, too, were also in the audience because the Stooges are the sister band of the MC5. They were both signed onto Elektra by what's his name, the future Ramones manager, the later Ramones manager. So yeah, that's a great idea.
cool.
But we're gonna have to refer to her like ever since page one. She's Sister Ray says this and Sister Ray says that.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Good, good. All right, thanks. So
So do you want me to show off because this is page 5 I'm working on right now. I could show off because I don't even think I've kind of because I've had 4 and 5 1 through 4 at my 80% tile finish stage.
okay.
Um,
Oh, what do you want to do? Go through this story of the first issue.
yeah, yeah. I can take it through to where I'm at right now, which is 5. So
Okay.
um, so here we are with page 1, and this is the desolate. I'm gonna do some masking and like using some wool, just really try to get some like alternative marking, and then take it on from there. And then there's the busting in, and then the kitties are all, huh, what's going on?
Middle of
And
the
then
night.
and then here's the I guess, is this like a father figure in the, or
That's the
is this Turbo's father?
Yeah, that's the father.
Okay.
I know I remember the word balloon right there. It says my father was an architect. He built bridges, structures that whatever.
Right. Right.
Right. And then
And then
and then
his
we see what
boom.
yeah, we see what happens. His head is coconutted.
Yeah. Then it jumps to the sweet splash page, which is in the arena, and the mature
Turbo.
Turbo is clocking, and I took liberty and kept moving with this furry hairy guy feeling. So I might even come back and give him even more hair, just so he has just so he has more like an animalistic mutant. Because it was
Uh,
definitely from like two episodes ago we were talking about the peas, and the whole apocalypse and nuclear and
uh,
road warrior and everything, and then just kept thinking like mutation. So I might be adding my own little spicks and specks to drive in some
yeah, the glower. So the pit fighters will usually be glowers because they're physically superior. They tolerate the radioactivity later that destroyed the wastelands. And most people are comparatively weaker, and they have the veins on their face. Like all normies have the veins on their face, under their eyes. And to show that they've been affected by the radioactivity, and it's generational. But the glowers are like just naturally stronger. You say mutants, maybe whatever, but um, your pit fighters are just like a different breed, and that's how we got there. So if you want to, if you want to make them visually distinct from others, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, just in nuance. That's nothing drastic. Like I not added any hair here. So because I just like the gray value it causes, but then it it double times, so it gives a really good gray value up in here, and
Hmm.
then it has a texture to it, so it keeps moving because of the wall, like the concrete wall. But I just love this. It's just such a great panel. I love it again.
Yeah, that was yeah, that
You could
whole
just hear him. You could just hear his voice. Like this is such a cartooning moment. It's just I can hear his voice. It might be not what he's saying, but I know what he sounds like because of this
wait
cartooning style. And
wait
it's
whose
just
voice whose voice?
this guy,
Oh,
the announcer.
the
Yeah,
announcer guy. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I can just
oh,
visualize his voice.
yeah. It's totally like Howard Cosell. It's so yeah.
Yeah, but even like more Grady, just like so annoying that people are
Right.
just like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, just let them fight. Like that. He's
Right.
just like, I do it,
Right.
like what is he even? Who cares? You know what I mean? Like that. Oh, but he's just been doing it forever.
Right.
And then this contrast.
That's
I mean,
funny.
this contrast is just oh yeah, yeah,
That's funny to get those impressions. All right, because yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and there's also, since we've started this project, we've also seen the Hunger Games come out, where they have
Yeah.
those cheesy announcers, right? That really,
Mm.
like you're saying, they really are so annoying, and they're just like the state media, right? And they're just towing the line, for the bad guys the whole time. So one thing we have to explain is how the pit fights are protected from the RM, right? Like, why aren't they bombed, or how come they're able, because that's something that might be a little you know
Cloudy.
yeah, it might be a little cloudy. How do these big pit fights, which are advertised, not come under the jurisdiction of the
Well,
leader?
here's a question. Just kind of popped in. I think another really sweet classic apocalypse or post-apocalyptic or whatever future dystopian rollerball.
Yeah, I
I think
remember.
that I just
Seeing,
that categorically next to Road Warrior, Mad Max. It's just
yeah, well,
the world building that's there, that it's all suggested as to where they are, what they're doing, the time, and then there was a Rutger Hauer version called, I think it's Flesh and Blood or Blood and Flesh, and he starts at the bottom, levels with a team. They actually, just like Rollerball, but it's kind of like a death by lacrosse or something. I'm trying to remember, but they make their way up into the civilized,
yeah, I think there was
whatever.
also like a car thing called Death Race 2000
Oh,
or something.
hell yeah! Oh,
Yeah, was that like John Carradine or something?
yeah. Sylvester Stallone. He's the rival car driver. Yeah. Oh gosh, they
Right.
used to
So
come on at midnight. You had to wait till midnight to catch that on television.
wow, I don't think I've ever seen it. I just have seen
Oh,
posters.
Jake, you gots to,
Okay.
because of exactly what I think. When building a world,
Uh-huh.
it's one thing to just dump episodically all of this information. And I think this also sidebars our conversation about how much and when do the flashbacks come in, because we're using them to cause um, information to impact and justify the movement of the story, the why the characters are there,
Oh
why the
yeah.
characters are doing, that type of thing. But if it can double down and give us a um,
A
Or
timeline.
yeah, because you were just saying well, why the games, the gladiatorial pit fighting doesn't get shut down. Like, so it has probably some economic value or authoritarian structure, or I don't know yet. It's just
Well, the pit fight. I
it's
mean,
just it's just really cool.
the I mean, because they are themselves kind of lawless. If you notice in that first episode, there's a pit fight that turns into a siege, right? And a massacre. Um, the first pit fight in the on the page you're on doesn't, but the next one,
Yeah.
or no, I think that one does. Yeah, that one does turn
This
into a,
one?
yeah,
No, this one ends. No, this one ends because this is page 4, and
yeah,
she's going
but
back. She remembers
yeah, no,
her mom
she
then getting killed, which then she makes that really
in
final
that
strike.
she wins the pit fight, but
Right,
they bring in the trophy girl for the next
right,
fight,
right. Oh, okay, yep, yep. And that's what
and
I'm on
then
right
and
now.
then all hell breaks loose, right? Then
Okay,
then
yeah,
the yeah, there's like a coup, a staged coup, and then she goes downstairs, and the owner of the venue's dead, and everybody's slaughtered, and that's when she grabs the trophy girl and hits the road.
okay, yep,
So yeah,
yep.
so maybe in explaining this, we can explain how volatile they are too, because the RM is not involved. We might have to say, like, I think we'll say, like, one day the RM is going to get involved in these things, but for now they're just like the Wild West.
I think Wild West is a good reference point, because lawlessness can be a little too silly, where it's just, there's no law, so I'll do whatever I want. Where when groups of people get together, I I believe socially speaking, there's not only a hierarchy that will come, but even somebody that's the ruler, or if there's a ruling class, as many people that they're ruling over, they have to cause some type of containment and
Sure.
satisfy the people.
Yeah, security.
So it just can't be, oh, you do whatever you want, you can, do whatever you
Yeah,
want.
well, there's got to be some level of security, and
Right.
so we'll do that. We'll mention that at the Big Deal Nationals. The Big Deal Nationals will have like the utmost security. You know,
Right.
well,
um yeah, so we're, and then this is, she's finishing him off. This is the page I'm on right now.
uh-huh.
And then my buddy here makes the final call for it, and then she's guzzling some these are what were those Bud Lights in a can, and they were blue blue
But
cans, because they
yeah,
were, I'm just saying the reference time that you drew these, there were these, ice cold blue cans that were, I think, Bud Light were doing, or something like that.
well,
So
when I think when I was doing that, I was drinking Bud Dry.
Bud Dry.
I used to
um,
think for Bud Dry. I
but
don't.
here's also, I think this is a really excellent. This is the first time where you really get to see the face,
Uh huh.
between with the veins in there and on their cheeks near their noses.
Right.
So this is the genetically modified, but not having any superpowers, or yeah,
Right. Everybody's
yep,
everybody normal will have the veins,
right,
and the glowers just don't have them.
right, right.
Right, but they might have other things, like Turbo is muscle bound, and the other guys are all muscle bound. They're like wrestlers, or they all have a gimmick. So there's that, and yeah, so that's where you're up to. Uh, Looks good. Yeah, I know there's a lot of detail on those bar scenes with all the exploding cups and dishes and everything, and glass, and when they have those fights, and yeah, and just making our way through.
Right. Right.
So yeah, so last night I'm watching the Disney Channel. I'm looking what's on there. Um, I know Doctor Strange came out in the theaters, and people are commenting on that. But uh, I watched the second to last Moon Knight, and I think it's starting to get a little weird. It's there's definitely not a lot of Moon Knight in it. It's a lot of the actor and a lot of story. It's a pretty good story. It's not bad. It's good acting. Um, but I think I'm on the second to last episode, and I don't want to do any spoilers, but you know, my complaint is like, where's Moon Knight?
Yeah.
Like fighting and jumping across buildings and throwing crescents and swinging around on a helicopter, and where is the Moon Knight from the comics? So and it's a very involved story that they did. I think it's a six-parter. So I'm just about to finish that, and I do have the last episode. So it has aired, and it's just ready for people to binge watch the whole thing. But so that was one thing, and then the wife goes to sleep, and I'm flipping through what else there from Disney Plus and Marvel that I haven't seen yet, and I clicked onto an episode of Marvel 616, and these are
Not
yeah,
familiar.
so yeah, these are like like mini documentaries, or like, kind of like a magazine format, of different Marvel sub stories. And I think I watched another one. So this one was pretty interesting. It was about the the Japanese Spider-Man series that aired on television, Japanese television only, from 1978 to 1979. They
Huh.
made 41 episodes. They were all low budget, and it was a completely different storyline and a completely different character. And the only thing that was similar was Spider-Man's powers. But he was a different guy. There was different characters, and it was,
Was he Japanese?
yeah, of course they were, and the whole thing was just like so distinctly Japanese, and they had all the interviews there now that they're older, of the actors, the producers, the stunt guy. They were telling stories, they were showing footage, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good, and they had footage of Stan Lee. And the really interesting thing was the the guy that fashioned the whole deal. He said his wife is Japanese, so he did a lot of business in Japan, and he noticed that all the licensing that was going on in Japan in those days in the 70s, that Marvel didn't have any presence. So he approaches Marvel, and he says, I can put a deal together here. And so they give him a letter of intent and whatever, and he goes out, and he ends up striking a deal with the toy company Toyo. I think it's Tio, Toy, yeah, Toyo, yeah, Toio, I think. And um, there was a production company, right? So they were making like TV shows, but it was like these robot and aliens and stuff, and all the TV shows were just infomercials for toys, right? The real money was all made. The real bread and butter was all the toys. So they make a deal, and they go in. Marvel, green lights it, and so they have a budget, and they go do it, and they start filming everything very low budget, and it's really funny and campy to watch the clips that they were showing, because it was just like such low budget stuff, and there was robots. Like Spider-Man had a robot called Marvelor, and
Nice. Nice.
Leopardon, and
Nice.
he would summon it, and he had like this little thing on his wrist, and it was just so low budget and so great. You can see how it would be popular, in Japan.
YouTube, excuse me, is um, HBO gonna, license it and put it on air?
Well, the full episodes were released in the States, I guess DVD or something like that, in the 2000s, but Yeah, so those are all available. But it was just funny to see, like, the clips and the previews and all that, the pilot, and
Right.
they were talking about, like, how they were making like a visual aesthetic, and how it all worked, and it did well. It had good ratings, and the American guy that put the deal together was explaining that the Marvel executives all flew out to Japan, and they were, when they had already, been working on this, behind the scenes, pre-production, and putting together the pilot for, or 2 years or something like that. And he said that the executives, so they made a pilot, and they took all the clips, and they made like kind of like a showcase version of it, and everybody panned it. They were shaking their heads, they were looking at their feet, and then they started to speak out negatively about how this was just, a bastardization of their most popular property, and, the production values and all this. And then all of a sudden, Stan Lee stands up and right over all the executives just starts clapping, and he says, "I love it. This is fantastic. This is for the Japanese market, and
Yeah.
it's never going to go outside the borders of Japan." And he says this is exactly what they want. And he said, "I love what you did with the visuals. I love how adults are going to think it's campy, and for kids, it's exactly what they want. The eye candy and the kind of over the top flavor." And so Stanley, like, saved this project's bacon, and the director guy never forgot that he had his back, and and it was considered so successful that it spawned everything that came after it. They showed this other live action superhero series that came after it, that I forgot the name of it, but it was basically the Power Rangers, you know,
Yeah.
and then the Power Rangers came on the heels of that. So it was just like, stepping stones. And and the Transformers, they said that Marvel was able to use all of Toyo's characters, and they said, well, let's put out some comics, and they put out the first comic, American comic, called Shogun Warriors,
Heck
which
yeah.
was all about robots, if you remember that number one.
Yep. Yep.
And then that gave rise very soon after to the Transformers, which is a humongous franchise now.
Yep. Yeah. That's
So yeah,
that's
Marvel.
a-
So Marvel 616 is a series of, like, kind of like documentary style, programs about all kinds of
hmm.
different aspects of the Marvel, comics turning into other media, and the history of it, and all put out by Marvel. So it's cool.
Well, that's perfect because that drops us right at our 45-minute mark. So,
Okay.
wow, we're getting, we're getting okay with this. I wouldn't put us in a classification of good, but this episode could be us moving in the direction of getting good at it. I do have to bring up two things.
Yeah. Little.
Housekeeping.
Yeah.
Housekeeping one is you got to get a printer because I want a scan of that pinup that you just finished because I got some ideas.
Okay.
Uh, and then number two, we need some intro outro music because you got to send
All
me
right.
some of the Von Ghoul's tracks, and
Sure.
I can start maybe picking that through. And yeah, we will, you know, keep moving forward on this podcasting format. And I'll just say right here and now, if you've listened to us all the way through the end of this episode, thank you so very much. And we guarantee that we're going to commit and stay just as engaged. And definitely when people start engaging us, then the conversation opens up and this is going to get really exciting. So with that,
Right.
I
This
say
is
have a
designed
good
to
one.
be, this is designed to be a two-way street with feedback, comments, and maybe one day we'll even get to the point where you could just hashtag something on Twitter and we'll read it live on the air, but we're not
Yeah,
there yet.
sure.
Yeah.
No, we're not. We're moving along. We're being sensible about it. We're definitely the two of us are in a place where we've just realized what we're capable of doing, and connecting it with our deepest of passions, which is comic books.
That's
So,
right. Comic books, comic art, and
yep.
as you can see, I've only been working on one panel this whole time, so sometimes it's slow, but
It's
I
all right.
I am gonna try to knock out most of this page before next week. So
Awesome.
let's see how
All
that.
right, Jake. Thank you so very much, and I look forward to our next session.
Yeah, man. All right. Good talking. See you next
All
time.
right. Cool. Later. And cut.
And see.
Let me run downstairs and hit the stop record button.
Okay.